Hey, good afternoon. Good afternoon. I think we're setting a record, y'all. 2 lives back to back. We've been doing it once a week. That's been enough. But we could not pass up today to connect with you. Hola, ¿cómo estamos? Hello, ¿cómo va? We are celebrating the International Day de la Mujer Afro-Latino-Americana, Afro Caribeña y de la Diáspora. También es nuestro aniversario como Black Women Disrupt. Entonces, pensemos, no hay mejor de que hacer más un live, traer un poquito más de conexión entre nosotras como hermanas y empezar a dialogar un poquito más. So, thank you to all of our sister disruptors and friends. We are going live once more. I know you were with us yesterday. We are so grateful, so thankful. And we could not pass up this opportunity to celebrate the International Day for Afro-Latin-American, Afro-Caribbean, and Black women of the diaspora. Today is a very special day, the 25th of July. And today's session is going to be conducted in Spanish, but we're going to also switch and flip and do some English as well. My guest is more than prepared to do so. She's been flipping and switching, code switching her entire life. So we want you just to feel comfortable with us. We're going to just chat a little bit with Yvette Modestin. As you all know, at Black Women Disrupt, we're connecting sister disruptors in a new way in 2020. We are committed to inspire, challenge, co-create, and transform by working with businesses and social enterprises led by Black women in the Americas and around the world. And this year, though, we're curating more intimate conversations, these dialogues that we know we need to have, bringing sister disruptors closer to you over the next couple of weeks. Please stay tuned. There's even more opportunity ahead for us to connect and grow together. Primarily, we want to explore life after a pivot. All of us are going through some challenging times right now, and we're using this opportunity to learn from sisters who are also doing this, living in this moment, living in this movement, and women around the world who can help us reconnect to ourselves, to our brilliance, to our missions, and women who still remind us that we have a unique purpose in life, that the struggle is not over, and that even if we're in the midst of some of the most challenging times, we can build, grow, and build again. So there's so much more I know we can do for our families, for our communities, and to transform the societies in which we live. I've been asked every week, what can we do? I'm a friend, or we're friends we want to support. Let me tell you, there's so many ways you can support Black women entrepreneurs and social entrepreneurs. Number one, we've identified 3. Number 1, buy from Black women-owned businesses. There's so few people who actually support Black women-owned businesses, and we do everything. We don't just create beautiful art and artwork for a specific time of year. We are open 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. Fund Black women-led organizations. Budgets matter. The money that you think about investing in an organization or donating to an organization can go to Black women-led organizations. Last but not least, invest in our communities and take cues from sister disruptors about how you can get involved. We have some links, and we'll keep posting links for you all to buy our t-shirts and other swag and donate to support this effort. But anyway, more than anything, you can always like and subscribe and follow our guests and follow Black Women Disrupt across all social media. Okay, tudo bem. We got our announcements out of the way. And I'm so excited. We're going to mix it up today, that we're going to conduct part of our conversation in Espanol, a little bit in English, and let us know if you're watching. Down there in the chat, please post a question for Yvette Modestin. I'm going to bring her on so I can talk wonderfully about her and let you know how amazing this sister is. Yvette Modestin, bienvenida.
Hola, queridas. Qué rico estar
¿Cómo
contigo.
estás?
This is like a little reunion.
It's wonderful. It's wonderful. But before we let you start celebrating, we have to tell everybody who you are. Yvette Modestin is a writer, a poet, an author, a cultural storyteller, and an activist. Born in Colón, Panama, and she currently resides in Boston. So she's seen all of the things you can imagine between one extreme and another. Ms. Modestin was named one of 30 Afro-Latinas you should know. She's founder and executive director of Encuentro Diaspora in Boston, Massachusetts. Ms. Modestin has been profiled by the Boston Globe as the Uniter for her work in bringing Latin American and African American communities together, and for her activism in building a voice for the Afro-Latinx community or Afro-Latino community. Ms. Modestin is the diaspora coordinator of la Rede de Mujeres Afro-Latino-Americanas, Afro Caribenas y de la Diáspora, an international network of African descendant women. Beautiful, beautiful. We were actually, the last time we were together face to face was
in Colombia.
Yes, in Colombia. And in June 2020, Ms. Modestin was named International Ambassador on Reparations for the Rastafari Alliance of Panama. We're gonna have to talk about that. I really want to know. That's beautiful. She is the co-founder of RCAA or ARAC in the United States, the Regional Council of People of African Descent from Latin America and the Caribbean. She's a bridge builder. And in 2019, Ms. Modestin received the inaugural Every Woman is an Activist award from March Forward, Massachusetts. She has had so many other accolades. I cannot continue to describe them all in the time that we have, but I just wanted to underscore that she has written books on poetry, beautiful books on poetry. She has contributed to notable books such as Women Warriors of the Afro-Latina Diaspora, edited by Dr. Marta Morena Vega, Maria Neves Alva, and Yvette herself. She is an artist. She's a mental health practitioner. She's a wellness facilitator. This sister is everything, okay? And she's someone that I've been just trying to get closer to in my own journey. We've traveled together. I just wanted to introduce her to the rest of our sister disruptors here because she is a power and someone I'm super inspired by. And I hope you all will be inspired by as well. Yvette, ¿cómo estás?
Muy bien. Y qué rico estar aquí contigo. You know, you're introducing me, and all I keep thinking is,
¿Quién es?
no, we came up together.
We were in our 20s.
Almost 20 years ago.
Yeah.
We were together in Argentina.
Yes.
As young, up and coming movement before Durban.
Juventud.
I mean, look at that. And here we both are, still in the mix. You know, I remember in Argentina walking around y todo el mundo preguntándonos dónde íbamos a tocar esa noche. And we were like, no, we're not a band.
They thought we were a group of gospel. ¿Recuerdas? Estuvimos en el avión, pero ¿ustedes qué hacen? Son un grupo de gospel. No pueden ser atletas. I was like, oh my God.
And the thing is that, y la cosa es que we were with folks from Argentina too. So it was like, they don't even recognize them. So it was like, okay, yo soy panameño, venimos de los Estados Unidos, pero ni los argentinos tenían espacio. Remember el vuelo que tomamos de creo que fue hasta Santa Fe, tuvimos ese viaje corto. El señor vino y comenzó a hablar bien fresco y todo, y sin saber que todo el mundo ahí hablaba español. Todo el mundo esperó para que él terminara, and we all turned around and we're like, I remember Judy, like, the least person we thought would go off. She was like,
this is an outrage. But you know, like, that is part of the journey too.
Absolutely.
And the reason why this work is so important for us is how we can problem solve together, how we can co-create things together. Like too often we've been in spaces where we have to combat, right? We're in a position of defense.
Mhm.
I want us to explore a position of what does our liberatory Black future look like? And if we're thinking about the future of Black people, where are Black women?
Yeah.
And so, and something that I think over the years has been so difficult to grasp as an activist, even in roles I've had in development, international development or policy, it seems like the electric third rail is economic power.
Yeah.
And how we shan't talk about the thing that shan't be talked about. And you know, we'll talk about poverty, we'll talk about, you know, inequality, but equity and economic power is like, we're still not ready for all of that. And
power, solo la palabra power en inglés, power en español, poder. Cuando oyen esa palabra salir de la boca de la mujer negra, nos miran como si estamos locas.
Exactly.
Y que estamos esperando para que ellos nos den el poder. When for many of us, it's like, no, yo no voy a esperar para que tú me lo das, yo lo voy a coger. You know, like we're not waiting anymore. You know, we are going to take over the spaces we need to take over with or without those who want to come along. And, you know, we're at the point now as Black women today, as the Red celebrates 28 years.
Yes.
And we combine the 28 years that has produced such women as the Vice President of Costa Rica, Epsi Campbell Barr, came out of this space.
Yes.
Ana Irma Rivera Lacen,
yes.
Very well-known Puerto Rican activist, was the president of the law school, running for Senate right now, is out of the space. Celia Galván, de Santo Domingo, una de las feministas más conocidas en el Caribe, comes out of the Red de Mujeres Afro, or is part of the Red de Mujeres Afro. Cuando se habla de la mujer feminista, activista en Latinoamérica, no se puede no mencionar el nombre de Dorotea Wilson,
claro que
fue nuestra ex, you know, coordinadora de la red. Y ahora, you know, we have this new coming energy, you know, Paola, who Yanes Inofuentes is a friend, an hermana, that's our coordinator now. And look what we've done this year, you know.
Amazing.
We've come out with messages every day. We had a campaign. We have our gathering this afternoon after I sit with you. You know, what we're saying is we're here.
Yeah,
you know,
we're no longer invisible. That idea of invisibility.
Absolutely. When we're talking about Black Lives Matter, tenemos que decir las vidas negras importa inmediatamente en español, porque significa la misma cosa en español, que nos han ignorado, nos han excluido y ya basta. You know, cuando falleció nuestra colega hermana Marieli Franco, fue como, oh my God, you know, like we are on the receiving. Yo le digo a la gente in my presentations around the U.S. or outside of our immediate region, for some of you, it's a coming in and out or an option. You pick and choose when you want to be a Black Latina, and you pick and choose when you want to be Black or Afro-Latina, and you lean into that word. For some of us, it's not an option. I'm Black in and out of whatever setting I'm in. And the same language energy that Mariel was using in her advocacy that led them to kill her on the streets in Brazil is the same thing you and I are doing.
Yeah.
It's the same thing you and I are doing.
And there's nothing wrong with the work. The work is about justice. The work is about making our communities whole. And the work is about being able to tap into the power that we already have to see and imagine the world that we would like to live in. I mean, it's basic. It's not like rocket science. We get up every morning and we can't figure out what we should be doing besides this work. Because we can see the inequity. We can see what's happening in front of us. Definitely this entire series that we're doing right now. And today we're doing a special date with you. I could not pass it up. But this entire series is called Resistance, Resilience, and Innovation for a reason. mainly because we are dealing with lack of connection, being even more isolated. This was conceived during the quarantine, you know, and some people are not as quarantined as others. We're seeing the outcome of that. But this was conceived during the quarantine, and particularly because we needed to feel connected to sisters. We imagined this work as work in physical presence with one another. That beautiful meeting we were in Cali. Yes. I'm trying to imagine that same energy in a virtual space, and it's hard to imagine. But I needed us to be able to still connect. So this is how I got started. We're going to actually do a little bit more. It's not a game show, Yvette, at all. But I'm going to ask you some questions, and I'm going to ask you questions so I can get some answers from you about some things. Because of all the things we do, especially in the creative space, and sometimes even in the activist space, we don't see ourselves as all of what we are. So I'm going to ask you questions. You tell me what you think. Got it?
And I love that, because I think my fight now, or not fight, my hope now is that folks see the complexity of who we are. Sure. Because then folks only approach us with their perception of who we are without realizing that there's this whole thing. Like, when people realized I was an ex-athlete, ex-competing athlete, they're like, what? I was like, that was my life.
Several lives.
So it's really funny. Like, at home, people know me as this jock, per se, because I was so into my sports. And then this whole other wave came on, right? So.
And I know you as like fantastic poet and educator, activist. I mean, but these are all facets of ourselves. Yes. So I'm going to ask you, ¿cuándo supiste que era una emprendedora social? ¿En qué momento te tocó? See, I didn't want to stop nobody.
No, la primera vez, honestamente, que la primera cosa que se me vino a la cabeza fue 2 años atrás. Y he estado en esto más de 20, pero 2 años atrás hice el programa de PBS, Stories from the Stage. Y me invitaron, creo que fue 8 minutos, 10 minutos que tienes para decir tu historia y por qué haces lo que haces, and why you see y por qué te ves como un change maker, era la palabra. Y eso me sacó tanta energía, pero me paré ahí, lo practiqué, lo memoricé, y fue sumamente importante para mí hablar de ser africana, más allá de nacer en África. Pero he llegado a esta claridad de que soy una mujer africana, soy una mujer afrodescendiente. Y también la cosa que más me ha formado es nacida y criada en Colón. En Colón se sabe que eres negro. En Colón la experiencia es negra. Para encontrarte con un colonense que dice que no sabe si es negro o no, es like, what happened?
What? Where
did you come from, right? Y me paré ahí con un orgullo diciendo, yo soy nacida y criada en Colón, Panamá.
Wow.
Y ese mismo año, mi papá, que es mi luz, estaba enfermo y me fui a Panamá a visitar. Y él se había mejorado y fuimos a la iglesia donde mis padres se casaron, yo me bauticé, mi hermana fue a la escuela, toda mi familia que ha fallecido, la misa ha estado, es la San José Paulino, es la iglesia de la comunidad, es la iglesia donde yo vi solo estatuas de gente negra, visualmente el padre era negro, las estructuras eran o de madera o negras, pero nada de caras blancas. Y fuimos a la misa para dar, gracias por papi mejorándose. Y de repente yo oigo a la gente aplaudiendo. Le digo a mi papá, hey, they're clapping for you. And we say, they're not clapping for me.
Clapping for me.
And I turn around and they were clapping for me. I did not realize, no supe que esos 8 o 10 minutos que me sacaron tanta energía hacer, había llegado a toda la comunidad en Panamá, en Colón, gente que fueron a la escuela con mis padres, gente que fueron a la escuela con mi hermana, con mi hermano, con la esposa de mi papá. Todo el mundo estaba recibiendo mensajes. ¿Vieron esta muchacha? Ella dice que es de Colón. Y mi hermana, mi hermano y mi familia, y que sí, esa es Yvette. Sí, y en ese momento, en esta iglesia donde yo me crié, la gente se pararon a decir gracias.
Wow.
Que se sintieron tan orgullosos que yo me paré ahí a decir que yo era colonense. Y después salimos de la misa y alguien vino y le estaba saludando a Melsa y le dicen a Melsa, esa es ella. And I was like, that's really funny. So, para mí el momento fue en mi propia patria, en mi propia comunidad de Colón. Yo ser reconocida de cierto punto en los Estados Unidos es una cosa, pero nadie es profeta en su país, como una amiga colombiana siempre me ha dicho. Pero ese momento de ser reconocida en mi comunidad en Panamá, inolvidable.
Wow.
Inolvidable, porque son los que más yo toco esa energía, yo me muevo con esa energía de colonensa, de discusión que yo aprendí desde niña, como negra y panameña y colonensa. Y tengo un orgullo. Colón no es el Colón en que yo me crié, pero Colón sí es Colón de corazón. Y en ese momento, I was like,
I made it.
I've arrived. To a certain extent, I've arrived.
That's fantastic. I mean, and it's beautiful that it's like a 360 moment, right? Or, you come back to where you're from and have that moment. So,
which is, but I'd say it's contradicting. Just to add a little short story to that is the year after that, I spoke at a Afro-Dominican conference at Harvard and walked in. And although being one of the old timers, leaders in this movement was the least known, even though I was the keynote, but the folks who were more social media present were more known than me. And I thought that was absolutely fascinating.
Yeah.
Most did not know about women warriors. If you don't know me, that's one thing. But if you don't even know Marta Moreno Vega, then you need to catch up.
Then we have to remember.
Catch up.
Yes, no.
It was striking. It was striking.
Yeah. Well, and there is a change happening. Actually, I have 2 questions related to that for you. The first is, and we're going to talk about innovación, but the first is, ¿por qué es importante organizarse teniendo en cuenta las mujeres? Why are we focused on women organizing? Mainly because I get this question every other day. Do this work, but it's only for women. Why? Or, why just Black women? You could be doing so much more. I'm like, ¿por qué es importante, Yvette? ¿Para qué hacemos esto?
How is that not important? We're women. We're Black women. No, estoy tratando de entender por qué la pregunta suena complicado, pero no lo es. Somos mujeres. Eso es nuestro punto de entrada.
Sí, claro.
Y ser mujer, ser negra, ser inmigrante, ser de este contexto latino que forma este país, ser educada y con todo esto ser excluida y no vista, Por eso tenemos que hacer lo que tenemos que hacer.
Yeah. Perfecto.
No tenemos ninguna opción. Hay días, y quizás tú lo tienes también, hay días donde yo me levanto y quiero decir, hoy voy a tener un día fácil, no me voy a meter en ningún problema, no voy a llamar a mi hermana y decirle, don't eat there, don't go there, don't shop. You know? It doesn't happen.
Yeah. Yeah. And then, I guess, piggybacking on that, yo estoy hablando por tu English.
Estamos hablando todo.
Por tu español English. ¿Qué desafíos enfrentan las hermanas disruptoras? So what are Black women, social innovators, and entrepreneurs, what are they facing in the region right now? And
well, the thing is
that ties into why do we do this work?
Yeah, from a personal place. Let's get honest and real.
Yeah.
This is no easy thing. I say to daddy sometimes when we talk is that he raised us after mom passed to be independent and clear in our identity. But no one ever tells you that clarity and that independence and that righteousness that you were raised to know who you are and to be who you are and to speak from that place of truth comes with a level of exclusion and pain that no one prepares you for. Like I was raised thinking of myself as being able to get along with anybody.
Yeah.
And I have learned as an adult in taking on the position as a disruptor to speak the truth, because we're not disrupting with lies. We're disrupting with truth. There's a difference. We're disrupting with truth. The level, I've lost friends. I've lost friends. I've lost relationships. I've lost friendships because if you can't hear me and hear my truth, then you need to ask yourself why. And that means that you're standing on some level of power that you're not willing to give up, and some level of supremacy, white supremacy, that you're not Black or white. Because in the context of this Latino structure that we talk about in this country, that white supremacy, that white privilege plays itself out in this Latino space.
Yeah.
So we become disruptors because we see these things. Our eyes are so wide open, you can't miss it.
Yeah. And we've been playing around with that concept. When we founded Black Women Disrupt, we wondered why it was okay to talk about disruption in terms of turning the hotel industry on its head and opening up homes, things we'd already done in our own innovation that were not seen as cool. I imagine and think of all of the Black men and women that I know who drove their cars to supermarkets and offered people rides to places so they could take their groceries home, and how that was considered not disruptive in a positive way, but disruptive in a negative way. But they were innovating to survive, right? And so we're playing around with this concept of innovation and what innovation means and what disruption and innovation mean. And so I would ask you, what role has innovation played in your work? ¿Qué papel juega la innovación en su trabajo, en su propósito?
All of it. Tiene que ser y tienes que crear, tienes que siempre estar pensando otra manera de entrar a la conversación para que la gente te escuche. Cuando yo fundé Encuentro Diáspora Afro, yo quería que todo el mundo, I was like, you're Black. You're Black. You know, like, yo quería caminar por las calles en Boston y decirle a todo el mundo, pero yo no entiendo por qué tú no crees que eres negro. Eres negro. Eres negro. You know, like really wanting people to know, like, tú eres negro. But then realizing that some people can't hear it. And that it was, for them, it was so jolting and aggressive to be told something that they have denied. with skin color or otherwise, from the lightest to the darkest. And it then took for us to have events where we talked about music. We used music point of entry. Mm-hmm. We used history as a point of entry. Mm-hmm. We used art, visual art as a point of entry. And then that's how I came into poetry, was to be, how do I get what I'm saying out in a deeper, it was actually my most painful place I was able to tap into through my poetry. Mm. So it became this innovative way of, we can have the conversation through movement, through art, through words, through action, through visual, through my hair.
Yes.
You know, my hair is innovative, you know, it tells
and disruptive.
You know?
Yes.
Today, by the way, is my 3-year lock anniversary.
It's so beautiful.
We get to tell the story. We have to be innovative in all of it, because when you already know that you are not seen and heard in your human light, when you really understand what that looks like and means, there's no way you can do the same thing over and over. You have to be innovative. You have to start new things. When I founded Encuentro Diaspora Afro, you know, I think of your celebration, 2 years of Black Women's Disrupt.
It's so little.
The game for a long time. So you've been in the game for a long time when I think about how long we've been around. Like, so you came to Black Women Disrupt and founded Black Women Disrupt already being aware of the foundation world, the political world, the economic world, all of it. So you were set up to know how to navigate what you're about to face. 20 almost years ago, starting Encuentro, yo no sabía. I knew absolutely nothing. Yeah. All I knew is that I had a 2-day conference in Boston, and so many people came. It was called the Gathering of Afro-Latinos in Boston. Y tu abuela, ¿dónde está?
I remember that.
That was soon after we had come back to todo. And that 2004. Yeah. And remember, we had started talking about it when we were on our trip y todo, and came back. And then saw so many people come. Marta had come, and Christopher Rodriguez had come. And my mentor, Chuck Turner, who may he rest in peace, who helped me get the space, knew nothing. But we knew we had to do something, and I couldn't stop and say, no, I can't take advantage of this. Yeah. So, you know, innovation is part of who we are. You know, when I say to folks, when I did the film Si Manoraje en Panama with Tosi Sakai, and when we talked about who we were as enslaved people, nosotros vinimos con talento. Ellos no nos trajeron aquí sin talento.
No.
Con talento. We knew how to fish, we knew how to grow, we knew how to plant, we knew how to dig, we knew how to do everything. And that's who we are as people of African descent. We are innovators. We know what we need to do to survive.
You've spoken a word right there. Because
survive.
We even not survive, but we know what to do. It's almost as if people believe we're waiting for people to tell us what to do. We know what to do because we've survived.
Yeah. Well, you know, I think of some of so often we have to reflect back. Where did we get this from, right?
Yeah.
I truly believe I was chosen.
I believe you were.
I truly believe because there are days I don't know where my energy comes from. But it's so purpose driven. It's so bigger than me that I can't help but be innovative of what I need to do next to figure out how to get into that space, get into that meeting, get into that thing, because this is not about me. This is who's coming after me and who should have been there before me that they never let in.
Yeah.
And when I come in, I'm going to make sure I'm going to disrupt.
All the windows and doors are open.
You're not going to forget that moment.
Yeah.
But sometimes, I remember when we did years back, my nephew came to one of our presentations in New York for the women of the, women warriors.
Yeah.
And after I was done, he said, Auntie, you're a different person when you start to speak. And I know that.
It comes from somewhere. Yeah, it comes through you. I mean, I know you, and I saw your presentation. I guess it was 3 years ago. You were wearing a beautiful gele. You had like I can't remember what the name of that presentation was, but you were giving a speech. It may have been the
stories from the stage.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, is that Yvette? Mainly because I know you, but
yes.
who you were, like, your persona grew in that space so big that I was just transfixed. I was like, she's channeling the truth, and not just channeling the truth. She is telling me what I need to hear to make my next steps. Mm-hmm. It was beautiful. Your delivery was beautiful. It was creative. It was everything I needed to hear in that moment. So yes, you're on the path you're supposed to be on. I can't imagine, people don't just wake up and do that, right?
No. And to those younger sisters, there's always fear there.
Yes.
I don't do this without fear.
Yes.
I do this fearlessly.
Yes.
But there's fear.
Yeah.
There's at times insecurity.
Yes.
There is a time second guessing. So I don't want to sit here and have those who are watching to think that I show up like this. No, I don't. I show up, and the showing up at times is easy, and the showing up at times is a struggle.
Absolutely.
Because when you have to realize that people don't want to hear you anymore, or, there was a period in Boston that I wasn't getting invited to things, because I was a trigger to a lot of folks. So you have to when you think of yourself as this very kind, loving, easygoing person, and then all of a sudden you become someone that no one wants to engage with because of the visual that you present, that you so love.
But you gotta stop right there. That is, I think, because what I want to let everyone hear and know is that, Yvette, when you talk about disruption, I've never seen you come into a room without having a constructive argument. So here we are to intervene, but here's a plan for how we can move forward. I've never seen, it's not disrupting for disruption's sake. It is to build. So when you say this piece about your appearance, can you please just help us understand what that means?
My visual, my hair became an extension of the vibration of everything that was coming out of my mouth. I dress easier in very Afrocentric ways. And if someone tells me I need to walk with a suit, I'm like, what suit? I was a social worker in the hospital for many years, and I remember wearing all suits. And then one day I looked at myself, I'm like, why do I look like everybody else here? But when you start this journey, because you remember when you met me, it was still sort of in that development. And then all of a sudden it was just like, oh my God, we have color, we have hair, we have prints. Like, yo quiero estar en todo eso. Like, I don't want to, it's, and I'm going to give out a secret that a lot of people have not heard me say out loud. One of the women who was aha for me that I read about, aside from the queen of all queens that just went to my movement, was Assata Shakur.
Okay.
Give her props there first.
Okay.
But Frida Kahlo.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Frida Kahlo, when you listen to Frida Kahlo's story, she was intentional in dressing in her Mexican clothing because she was so proud of it and she thought of it as an extension of her artistic expression. And by wearing that, she was dismissing the colonized perspective that we could only look beautiful in colonized clothes. And I read her in college, and there's not a room in my house that she is not represented in some shape or form. My sister, my brother, my sister-in-law, who is Mexicana, I have so many of her books. I have her diaries, her cookbook, all her paintings. And
this is something I did not know.
yes, and that's one of the people that when you look at her, it's rare to see her outside of her ethnic celebration clothing. And that's
unapologetic. She was
unapologetic. And
so.
That is one of the people that really had an impact on me in my early development, because I was like, ella no usa ese traje. Yo no tengo que usar. Like this woman a couple years ago in Panama, I went home and, I dressed like that all the time. Y ella dije, ay, ve tú siempre con tu traje africano, pero no es mes de la etnia negra. And I just saw that father just gave me this look like, okay, you've known her since you were a child. She's an elder. Be nice. I was like, todos los días etnia negra para mí.
It's not the day of the hair braiding, yes. And how do you, that actually leads me to my next question for you, which is about balance. ¿Cómo equilibras todas las necesidades que tú tienes? Como, en este caso, madre de varios niños en su comunidad también, ¿no? Líder en las escuelas, líder entre las diferentes partes de la juventud, liderando su propia empresa o proyectos creativos. Se fue. We'll get her right back. Let's make sure we get her back on board. Anyway, Yvette is telling me all of the things that I didn't know about Yvette before. She spoke to us about her creativity, about the reason why she's doing the work that she does. And I know that I'm hoping she'll come back on to talk to us a little bit about her spirituality, which is super important. Here she comes. Here she comes. Hold on 1 second. I'm bringing you back.
Again.
Yvette, I thought you did.
Sorry.
I was like, wait a minute.
I was like, what happened? What happened?
No.
Balance is once an athlete, always an athlete. So I need to exercise in some shape or form. Me encanta correr. Right now, I'm nursing an injury, which has been a struggle because running is not just about staying in shape for me. It's my go-to. Yeah. It's my one-on-one time. It's my uninterrupted time. It's some of my best writing comes out after a run. So now I've taken on my walking and biking, until I fully recover. I love to write. I love to read. I can read, if it's a good one, I can read it in 2-3 days and forget everything I'm doing. Yeah. Love music. I have my own dance parties.
Do you do them by yourself, with others, virtually? What do you do?
All of it. Music comes on and I can geek out completely on it, and all facets. The thing about growing up in Panama, and I am a child of Pan-Africanism because I was born in a Latin American country. So I had to deal with understanding what it means to be Black in this Latin American space as a whole. Y hablando español, escuchando la salsa, el merengue, todo eso. And then I am a child of Caribbean fire. Yeah. Grandparents from Jamaica and Martinique So the calypso, the reggae, the rasta, all of
it.
all of it, and the French, because Martinique, grandfather only spoke to us a lot more in French. We were all set to learn French. My uncle was the president of the French Sociedades in Cologne for 29 years. So I used to celebrate, Bastille Day.
Bastille Day.
Was I would get up very early in Cologne and give away that first basket. And then I had this American context too. Of being born and raised in Jim Crow segregated territory that surrounded the Panama Canal. So I had to learn also how Blackness was seen in an American context. So me coming to Boston was not new to that story. What was new was to come from that Jim Crow segregated story and see Black firefighters, Black police officers, Black nurses, Black teachers. I was swimming in Blackness for the first 9 years, 10 years of my life, where that's all I saw until we desegregated the schools and we integrated. Then I had to understand racism from that perspective. I not only had my parents' story, I was now having my own story. And then to come here and then the dismissiveness, like it was striking how folks treated me. Like they assume from Central America, from Panama, that is dumb, that means poor. I'm like, I come from two parents who were this. I come from uncle who was that. I come from a aunt who, my grandmother, the first Black woman of 3 in Cologne to own her own business. And you can tell me I'm not supposed to be walking like this? Okay, then.
Thank you.
Okay, then. So those are some of the, so my balance comes from, and also I come from, as today I sit here, honoring the day, but most importantly, honoring my mother. Passed away on this day. Many years ago. And everything about her said, I'm here. I'm all that and more. And not in a conceited, in a very humble way. When you are clear on your gifts and you're constantly sharpening them, you're learning from them, you're growing within them. There's a joy that is, Michelle, Felix, Daddy, and I will forever feel the pain of losing her. But we were not lacking in love. We were bombarded with love to the point that, and my father, the fact that today I also celebrate my dad. Because we're celebrating women, but I am deeply shaped by a man who allowed me to find my womanness and didn't interrupt it at all. I challenged my father, Michelle, Felix, and I, and he allowed us to. So I also celebrate him to about the women that I am, because he also has so much to do with it. So when I'm challenged with men who can't deal with me, I'm like, okay, this ain't gonna work, because if I can challenge my dad and he still loves me and he's still there, and you can come behind and just like raise your voice or dismiss me. I'm like, oh, child, I'm Felix Modestin's child. He taught me how you move. I got the inside from one and all.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. I was going to ask you one more question before we get to the fun question, or at least before we quickly go through and see who's online. We'll do that real quick. Dash Harris sends her hellos and amen. We've been there. She's, sending the love through.
Dash did a video years ago Negro, and she did a wonderful interview with Brandy, who's part of the diaspora team. And actually, I'm going to be spending some time with her later today too to talk. But talking about the young women, the younger women that are coming up behind, with us, not even behind us, with us. And Dash being one of them, Janelle Martinez being one of them, Luz Villar, who's here in Boston, who's a member of Congresswoman Ayanna Presley's staff, sharp Puerto Rican Dominican young woman. And just my whole diaspora team of the Rede, Ajari, Aguayo, Ilana Akil, and Brandy Waters. Unstoppable. Unstoppable.
I love it.
So, I'm not ready. I'm still young in spirit and mind. So, but I love the way these women are coming and the way we came and honoring those who came before us, learning from them, sharing with them. I sat with Marta hours and hours before I branched out on my own. I sat for hours and hours with Christopher. I sat for hours and hours with Dorotea, with Anne-Marie Coriolan. I sat for hours before they said, okay, está lista. Okay. So there was a level of education, a level of singing and listening to the story and learning from them before it was sort of like, I'm gonna, and I'm an extension of these women. I'm not a competition to these women.
And please, that is, I think, the central thing for us. We're trying to promote a culture of co-creation, not competition. And people are like, but you're business women. I'm like, yeah, but there's space for us.
Yeah. If folks are wanting to compete with me, I'm the last person to now compete with me on an argument. Child, I will wear you down. It's something that I truly believe in. But compete with space and attention, like just doing this thing with Janelle next week and this thing with Dash later. They both got me to finally make my Instagram page public.
And in full disclosure, I want to also recognize that I have come into this virtual space much more bravely because of the team that I have right now. And actually, she's in the room making sure we look good right now. Lady sent out a special shout out to you as well. She's in Colombia and she's like, I love how you look. So I just really, there's one last question that we have, because, we had to think through all the questions that would be appropriate for someone like you, but we can't let you leave.
But the thing is that you can ask me anything. And I'm going to save it because we laughed together. We ate together. We saw each other without, lipstick. We were getting up and sitting in classes. We were starting trouble, all the things.
And doing it.
People don't realize I love lightness. I love love. I love to laugh.
Yeah.
I want to bring at the end of the day, this is all coming from love.
Yes.
The love that I saw my community exhibit unconditionally. Absolutely. The love that I saw my father have for all his siblings. The love that I have for my sister and my brother. The love that I have for my Black men that I absolutely adore.
Yes.
Absolutely. That is the core. And when you're in love with all of that, it is hard to be walking around with your face all set up.
I have not seen it yet. So my last question is actually going to be a delight. I want us to tap into, and I think Dr. Marta Moreno Vega has always been one of those people that challenged us to see culture as what we are. Like, culture is everywhere. It's not the event you go to when they play tambor and then you go over here and you hear a poet. It is all around us, and it's even in the way that we create our businesses. It is our culture, right? So coming from that perspective and learning from our the people who guided us to some of these spaces. I have to ask you, and it's going to sound trivial, but ¿qué estás escuchando, asistiendo, leyendo ahora que te da la vida?
Oh, okay.
And I say this because we can't be militant all day long. At some point during the day.
Okay. At my bedstand right now, I'm reading Salvation by Bell Hooks.
Okay.
Because I think this pandemic made us look at how we love each other and support each other, and how even white supremacy has gotten in the way of us doing that.
Yeah.
So it's been a very enlightening book that a friend shared. I am also reading Butterfly by Butterfly 2, which is this young sister that is just raw and intense and sweet in her language. But I'm like, I gotta balance that out. You know, I'm reading those two right now, but I'm an avid reader, but I'm reading those two. And music,
please tell us what we should be listening to.
Spectrum, but anything reggae.
Okay.
Reggae calms me, it grounds me, it lifts me, it takes me on a journey. You know, one of the best things that has happened in quarantine was the versus battle between Jill Scott and Erykah Badu.
Loved it.
And I bought my t-shirt and all.
You were at the concert.
At the concert, and I've just been listening to them in a different way. But I'm about music. I'm about soul music. Gil Scott-Heron, Erykah, in India Ree's new one, The Good Trouble, Coulda, Woulda, Shoulda. I love that stuff. Jamila Woods. Make today my daily bread and mira esa canción. What? When she played that song at the end, you know, it's just the that should be everyone's morning song to wake up. Is
a devotion, right?
Totally. I'd be like, what you want? It gets ready. Like, what you want? I'm holy. You know, I'm, you know, like literally. So those are some of, you know, and then I am an absolute Hector Lavoe fan.
Okay. So we share that.
Lo bailan en Venezuela, lo bailan en Panamá, ese ritmo es africano. Mira. Mira. He was talking about it and singing about it before anybody knew what it was.
Do you think he knew what it was?
I do.
Okay.
When
I
you
feel
go
like
back,
sometimes I'd be like, but if he knew, how come others don't know? Anyway, that's a whole nother conversation.
Pero él lo sabía de un punto de entrada espiritual, que es un punto de entrada de mucha gente. Pero ¿qué es lo que pasa después? Because as far as I know, I think he got it because of the entrance spiritually.
Right.
But what happened when he, you know, came out of it is another question. But then you have, you know, las caras lindas de mi gente negra. I mean, él sabía que era la negro. ¿Y qué dijo? La cara más bella y pura lo vi en Panamá, Portobelo, el Nazareno. I mean, come on.
Come through, Panama. Come through.
Tell Panamanian nothing after you listen to that.
So, Yvette, do you see how quickly it went by? It went so quick. We have to say we're gonna say goodbye. I don't want to because I miss you.
I have to say, I am so deeply proud of you. Aww. I am so happy for you. I admire you. You inspire because I know you were in spaces that a lot of us don't get into, and you got in and you made some massive moves that helped so many people that you need to be interviewed on this show. for folks to hear who Zakia Johnson is.
That would be problematic.
The fact that we spend this time together means the world to me. So I couldn't say no. Could not say no.
You said yes. I couldn't think of a better person to share this birthday with and to share this day with. I just couldn't. And before people go, I want to make sure that people have all of your social media handles. If you could say them, and we'll make sure they go on the ticker on the bottom so everyone has it.
So they can visit Encuentro Diaspora Afro Facebook page.
Okay.
And we're also on Twitter.
Okay.
And then my public Facebook page is Soulful Afro with Yvette /Ecolata, which is my Yoruba name. And soulful meaning soulful African, but they couldn't spell out African, the whole thing. But to me, your soul, that soulness is very deep within. Yeah. And the Twitter is @SoulfulAfro.
Perfect.
And the Instagram is @SoulfulAfro also.
So we'll be making sure, everyone. Yvette, I want to thank you. Thank you so much for coming to be with us, visiting with us today. Please come back again soon.
I will.
To do something else together very soon. We're going to add Yvette's information and the social media handles, etc. below. I hope you guys like what you heard today. I hope that the conversation was as beautiful to you as it was to me. It made my day.
It made my day. It was wonderful.
But I want people not to worry, because at the end I have to wrap it up. It's the thing we always do, but I want them not to worry, because this is not really the end. This is one of the days, and I want them to stay tuned and check in with us next week, because the month of July is not over. The summer series live, Resistance and Resilience and Innovation, is not over. Next week we have a beautiful conversation with my sister, Dr. Camila Jamie Anderson, and she will be talking about bilingual Black families and making sure that we are teaching and traveling and studying our history throughout the diaspora with our brown families. So please remember to subscribe, to like, to follow our special guest. Please remember to subscribe, follow, and like what we're doing here at Black Women Disrupt. We are just so pleased. We're pleased that you came by today, that you found some time. Don't forget to shout out a sister, post a picture, send some love to a sister disruptor in your life, and hashtag Black Women Disrupt, because we want to know who she is. We are building community, and I know we have to go. I know we have many more activities and festivities, because today is the international, it's our day. Today is the International Day for Black women in the Americas and in the
And we want to shout out one of my, when people, before we met, people would be like, you sound like John Biel. And I'm like, who's John Biel? John Biel. And then I was like, when we met, ages ago in New Orleans at an Insight Women of Color Violence, I was like, yeah, there must have been something in the Panamanian water that they said these two young women are going to meet and do some things together. So shout out to Mana. I just adore her. Yeah. I'm so proud of her. So inspired by her, and I'm constantly learning from her, so shout out that I know she's listening, and to all the men that are on this journey with me too, a shout out to them.
Absolutely. Thank you, Yvette. Thank you for
sharing. Love you
too, Mama. Have a wonderful day. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Wow. Goodbye, everyone. We're gone.